So I'm going to call the meeting to order. Hi, we're calling the meeting to order, and we don't have a quorum, so we will not be voting on any issues today. We'll just be discussing some of the things on the agenda because we don't want to waste time. We're all here that can be here. We're waiting for two more members for a quorum. So Terry did call and tell me that he would be a little late. I haven't heard from Sue Ann, but we did contact her, said she would be here. She usually comes in, she has to drop a kid or something, whatever. So let's do this. Memorial Day speaker and grant.
Long was supposed to be here too.
Yeah.
Well, where?
I don't know.
Yeah,
but Jim.
He's
Yeah.
probably, Jimmy's
Yeah.
probably got a
Yeah.
cold too, like I
Yeah.
got.
Could be. So there's 1, 2,
Thank you
3,
for
4,
coming out
5 of
when
us
you're
here. We
sick.
need 3
Oh,
more
that's
people.
all right.
So. Okay.
I love the praise.
Memorial Day speaker and Grand Marshal. We had talked about this. Did anybody else come up with any others? Because we did come up with one that we think is a viable candidate. If you got one for me, great for either one of those two. But we originally discussed contacting Pat Parlett, okay, as for the Grand Marshal. She was in the U.S. Cadet Nurse Corps. She's a 1943 graduate of Darien High School. She also was one of the first or early recipients of a DCA scholarship, which helped her to go to U.S. Cadet Nurse Corps. I'll give her a call. I know she was at a luncheon today at DCA. I'm pretty
Dave,
sure.
I think she's probably the last Darien resident alive who used to date the sailors at the training school.
But we'll give her a call
Where the
because...
Fitch, wow.
Hi, Jim.
Maybe not for the
Hey, Jim.
Hey,
Welcome.
Jimmy.
Ladies and gentlemen.
How you doing? So
You too. Me too, eh? Moi aussi.
I think she would be pretty key. When I looked her up on the internet, when you jump in and Google somebody, oh my God, it was like, there's all this information about her because there's been articles written about her and stuff. It's a fascinating read. I mean,
That is so great.
She was a specialized nurse.
I love it
for-
that it's a woman, too.
And
That's what I
yeah,
said.
I
It's
don't
the
think
first
we've,
woman, I think.
That is
I don't believe
fantastic.
we've ever had a woman
No.
on it.
Woohoo!
You know?
No, that's what I
So-
thought.
Oh, it was Grand
I mean, I
Marshal.
love men.
Yeah.
Yes, we
but-
did.
Huh?
It's nice to,
Grand Marshal.
Yeah.
Certainly nice to hear.
In the spirit of the way,
I just think it's good.
what's,
Ann Purcell's,
yeah.
no, she was not the Grand Marshal.
Wasn't she?
No, she was in a Jeep, though.
Yeah.
And she
Okay.
passed away soon after that. So we got the classic picture of her.
It was
Um,
Penrose.
Penrose,
Ann-
yeah, Penrose.
It was
Yeah.
Ann Penrose.
Penrose.
Ann Purcell is
Sister.
in Florida right now.
Yeah, yeah,
No, she
sorry.
wasn't.
Jim.
I get my ANPs mixed up. Anyway, so if she acquiesces and she agrees to
That's
this,
yeah.
it'd be great.
I have one of those.
Rob, did you get one of
See
these?
one?
I have,
Okay.
thank you. yes.
Everybody got one?
Yeah.
You should have one of these, which starts off the agenda, and
And the cemetery.
you should have a cemetery one.
Oh,
So we're still looking for other suggestions, but we seem to have got a good feel for, or consensus for Pat. I would hope that we could do that. I think it would be wonderful. She's a fixture in this town. She comes to everything that has to do with anything that has to do with patriotism. And she's just a wonderful
She's
human
so
being.
upbeat. I love
She's
her.
one of the most upbeat human beings on the face of the earth. The other thing is the Memorial Day speaker. And so some of us we're doing some thinking about this. And Becky, who was in Vermont, came up with, she said, you know what, we ought to try to get one of the Pavias, because they just wrote the book, An American Town and the Vietnam War, Story of Service from Stamford, Connecticut, about Vietnam. And so we have already made some inquiries to both of them, and it turns out that Tony is going to be unavailable, but Matt will do it for us if we ask him to do it. Matt Pavia, the co-author of the book, is a teacher at the high school. And I think it would be awesome because he's a younger guy, and we're going into the tail end of the Vietnam War, 69. Okay, we're 50 years past, yeah. And I think that it would tie in really nicely. We haven't ever really done a tie-in with the Vietnam War, with Memorial Day. So we're in contact with him. We are hoping that he's the one that we decide on. We can wait another meeting. We can't vote today anyway. We can wait another meeting to officially make it happen. But I would want to have anybody else's other choices for speaker or Grand Marshal by the next meeting, if you want to have it in there. And we've done this before, where we've come up with 2 or 3 people that we think might make a good one, all right, for a different position, for either speaker or Grand Marshal, and we've made them be the next year or something. So don't hesitate to bring somebody forward, but I have good vibes about these 2 individuals. So so Becky did contact me, she kept on it, and she nailed it down with Matt.
With Matt, we might be able to hitchhike on the idea of the book, because that's getting quite a bit of
I think
publicity
so.
around, and I think that would
This is
perhaps be
Terry.
a draw into the program.
Yes, Terry? No problem, dude. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye. He'll be here in 10 minutes. He's on a road, he had some problems. Okay, so there's nothing to vote on there, but this is just the idea of Memorial Day speaker and Grand Marshal. I do want to just distribute one thing here. This is the program that I made up last year for the Memorial Day ceremony. Now, why am I giving you this? Well, very simply, there may come a time when someone else will have to run this ceremony, and in order to do so, you want to know the order of responsibilities for that day. It is not too soon for us to consider, looking into this. And we may very well want to, and I have done this before, delegate somebody else to do this ceremony this year, as opposed to having me do it, or always having the person who is in charge do it. We can put somebody else in charge for this particular event. So keep it in mind. But if you take a look at this, this is the basic order of operations for that day. And the key point to look at here is all the people that we need for Memorial Day. You'll notice you need a prayer of invocation, and then you need a pledge of allegiance. Who usually does that? Okay, that is the Grand Marshal. The national anthem, usually the tutor singers. We contact Chris Andrade, and he gets them all squared away with us. Lincoln's Gettysburg Address is always done by a cadet scout. Memorial Day poetry winner or essay contest winner or whatever, Terry runs that contest along with Lucy and other people in the school district. So that always happens. There's always sometimes we'll have more than one in there. We won't just have a poetry winner. We might have a poetry winner and a prose piece also, General Logan's order is usually done by a scout. I don't know whether scouts actually ever swap those roles of Girl Scout, Boy Scout back and forth. I don't know whether they ever do that. It
Not
might
in
be
my recent memory,
I
but
can't remember them doing it, but I don't know any reason why not, but I'm just saying that possibility. Of course, now, I'm not gonna get into the whole Boy Scout thing with, are they Boy Scouts, what are they doing? I don't know.
Scouts.
Scouts.
You can stick with Girl Scouts being Girl Scouts.
The names of the Darien men killed in war are listed on the back. All right. There's quite a few of them that are buried in the actual cemetery. If not the military cemetery, then the general cemetery. All right, so that's always an interesting feature, usually done by Jamie Stevenson or whoever's the first selectman at that point. You notice the 3 bells. Okay, that tells you that there is a bell, and we have to know that we always have to get a bell. We usually get the bell from the Roten Heights Fire Department. America the Beautiful by the Tudor Singers. We have a speaker. Last year it was Perry, Gold Star Mother. She's going to be doing a swimming event to commemorate her son in the near future. Presentation of memorial wreaths, usually done by the Grand Marshal, Speaker, and the First Selectman. The military salute, Darien VFW Honor Guard is contacted, so this is another group we have to keep in mind.
You also have to order a wreath.
Right, we order wreaths for that. Taps, Darien High School band students have done that. They've done echo taps where one plays and then the other follows it up for quickly like that. And we also have Anthony Montemuro, who did our taps at our Wreaths Across America ceremony, who has done the bugling for us many times, all right? And so he's also someone to keep in mind. And then a prayer of benediction. So that's the order in which we go through. On the dais are always the town officials, and you've always got the leaders of all the first responders, okay, are asked to come up, and any other invited guests that we might want to have up there. If we have, certainly we have local politicians and such that want to come, We invite them every year. We don't always get them to come. They don't always want to come, but for instance, Carlo and Bob Duff and Terry, all these people are invited every year, and it's at their decision to whether they want to come or not.
But
Same
somebody has
thing.
to invite them, usually Linda O'Leary.
Right.
I remind her, and
Right,
she
right.
sends out the invitation to them.
So this is just some of the work that goes into doing the Memorial Day ceremony. You'll notice in the bottom where it says special thanks to, the Connecticut Department of Veterans Affairs is being thanked because of the flyover. That's a big, long, protracted process that we have to go through. We start that. Linda O'Leary's pretty much got that down now as to how to do that. It's really, really, really complicated. But we get that done. We start that in another month or two. The Darien Public Library is in there because Alan lets us come and use the interior, if we have inclement weather. All right, we usually then come out at the end and then place the wreath, but that's what that's there for. Spring Grove Cemetery Association, obviously Springdale Florists, usually Mickey will donate try to donate, and
But I
we have to
don't
fight
let
him
him.
off, he wants to donate all the time. He's just that kind of guy, Mickey Doyle, down at Springdale Forest. He donates these wreaths for us. I mean, he's just a fantastic guy.
It's really,
And then everybody else is listed down below. The National Guard is listed because they do walk in the parade.
who does the
and
flags? Isn't that Veterans Affairs too?
the flags are done by Veterans Affairs too, yeah.
That's what I
Okay.
thought.
So, and then on the bottom, you'll see the listing of everybody who was at that particular point in time a member of and this can change, this doesn't have to be this way, but this is the way I did it last year, short and simple. Origin of Memorial Day, and the back page, all the people who are listed from Civil War, World War I, World War II, up to the present. We don't go back to the Revolutionary War because it would be really, really difficult to try to list all of
Always
those.
works,
But I
that's
did
what
want you to be aware of the layout because, should something happen, and I'll be frank, I'm not looking to weasel out the door or anything like that, but my family is all in some other state now. They're all over the place. I don't have anybody here. There may come a time when
Well, you're portable.
yeah, there may come
I
a
just
time
hop in the
when
car wherever.
I will
Those
not be
boots are
able
meant for
to
walking.
do what I've been doing for the last, and she's been doing it for decades, and I've been left to hang around.
I got on this commission
All right.
in 1992.
She was
Wow.
1992. Karen and Chick Scribner were two of the original
Originals.
members of the committee,
Mm-hmm.
and then it became a commission, all right, and all the way through. So
Thanks to
Karen's the
Phil
last
Morehouse.
man standing.
Yes.
Thank you for your
Anyway, I
service.
wanted you to be aware of that. So much for Memorial Day. If you have any questions, I'll take them. If there's anything anybody wants to add, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll
Can't
move
do
on
anything. Go without
to
Terry.
something quick and easy. The next thing I'm gonna jump to number 3, applications for a display case. In here, you will find applications for the display case. We wanted to make sure they were all up to date, so we asked everybody who applied this year to give us a new application.
Do we have to vote on these or no?
Hmm?
Do we have to vote on this? Or do
No.
I'm not
We did
with
last-
it.
We did.
We did.
I
We
think
did last
yeah.
month.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
but then
I
we,
Yeah.
right?
The question has come up, if there's a repeat group for the display case,
It's in this packet.
should we have to ask those people to do it again and again
Is
and
that-
again?
Do you have one too?
I have one.
So, for instance, if At Home Darien is going to do it, I think it's good in one respect. Yeah, it's in the packet. I just jumped ahead. It's good in one respect because if somebody new is running the organization that's applying for it, they should know what the process is. So that is one reason to keep it in. But for instance, the depot, Janice Marzano, she's done this before. This is not her first rodeo. Tracy and Sharon with the cemetery committee, and it goes on like that. Tom Wong with the senior men. A lot of these guys, these folks have done it before, and it begs the question of whether or not we need to ask them for it every year. We have almost every one of them in now, I believe.
No,
No?
but genealogy is in now, and it's really good.
Yeah, genealogy is in now,
Currently.
it's great. They're
Mhm.
following someone named Chatterton, who is a resident of Darien and died in 1915, but Fred, I think his name was Fred Booth Chatterton,
I don't.
and it follows his whole story of coming over, the family coming over on 2 boats. Really well done, nicely done. I believe it was John and Joanne Driscoll that had a hand in doing that. It's pretty neat, actually. When I went down there and looked at it, it was really nice. So we'll have to revisit this applications deal and see whether or not we want people that have done it before to come up. Certainly if they're going to put in the same, something pretty similar. Hey, Terry.
Hi there.
Certainly, if we're going to put in something fairly similar, we may not need to ask them for it. But then again, suppose they come up with a whole different concept, we may want to see it in writing. So let's think about that, and at the next meeting, we can decide whether we want to require everybody to do it again. I think
Vote on the minutes. When he
once we get it, yeah.
When you get going.
So I'm going to direct you all to the minutes for December 11th, which is the second page. Take a few moments to go over those, and then we will vote them into, now that we have a quorum, okay, we have a quorum of 8, we will vote them after we've read them.
We're
Let's go
starting
read
the
them.
meeting at now?
No, theoretically, it could be, it's at 3:30 or 3:35 when I started it, and
Yeah,
it's
well,
just, we just couldn't
3:35
vote.
is what I wrote, but.
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Yeah, we see, in this, you'll notice it says all were approved of the ones that were listed of the display
yes.
case.
Yes.
And we'll get their applications in as soon as possible. We get a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll move it.
Second.
Jim has done so. Second,
Second, Raleigh.
Raleigh. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the minutes are now part of the record. Okay. Let's go to Cemetery Committee progress. Tracy. Now, you should have a packet that looks like this. Got a lot of pictures in it and such, and Tracy's going to quickly go through some of the high points of what's going on.
Hi there. Well, we're at the, yeah, I made pictures, they are a lot better in color, so I apologize. It showed the piles of leaves and everything that we've been doing. But we're at kind of a, winter break, so to speak, and we continue to travel around and just look at things, and if there's trees after a storm or something, we get in there and pick things up. So we're not completely not doing anything, but I wasn't here last month, and I apologize for that. We were in the middle of doing, I call it Weeds Landing. The official name is Weeds #2 Graveyard. And that had not been cleaned out for many years. So there's pictures of the giant piles of leaves and the truck that we used, and we were there for 2 days, and we still have to get back in there, but I think we've made good progress, and we were very excited because we did find 3 Revolutionary War markers. Sadly, the headstones themselves are little nubs. But we did find in the Hale collection records the names of the 3 that had markers. And Ken mentioned that he knew the history of one of them, so I thought that was very exciting. I'm glad for that. So there's pictures of that. And we put the big thing is we had a railing installed at Slauson in preparation for 2020.
Yes,
that
that
looks
looks
great.
good.
Yeah, it looks wonderful. And Sharon's idea was to do it on both sides, which I think was a great idea.
Yep.
So that was a big undertaking. And then that's our kind of our focus for the next year is to start to get Slauson a little bit more, in shape. The sign does have to be replaced. We already have the blank, thanks to Raleigh and his team over at the Mather Center. Unfortunately, you can't see how bad the sign is because it's in black and white, but it's all, it's falling apart and everything. So the good news is the bracket's there. We just have to get the words on the sign blank that I have from him. And that tree fell down. So that's, the country club that's next door has very nicely, they kind of came over last spring when we were there, and they said that they would pick up leaves and everything over the year, and they've been
It's
mowing the
Weaver?
land. Yeah, and they've been mowing the lawn as they can, and so we're very grateful for their help. And so he was going to be getting in there. I don't know if he's done it yet, but he's going to get in there and get all those leaves out of there, and then get that tree and put it to the front where the town would pick it up.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, which is really nice. So we're working on 8 cemeteries. We have worked, or we've been working on 8, which the list is right there, and we'll keep on going.
It's like a lot of
Are you
work.
using the same guys, the same fellows to do?
Yeah,
They were-
yeah,
They
Tom
were,
Costello.
they were like
Yeah.
Yeah,
gangbusters.
yeah,
Fun.
yeah,
They worked hard.
yeah.
And they got it. The guys that were on the team, the guys were saying, in their home countries and stuff and everything else, people don't have a reverence like that,
Not
that
in
go
uniform.
into a cemetery.
Yeah.
And I was impressed by that. He said, what you people are doing is really amazing.
Yeah,
So,
so we were,
And I noticed the artistic ironworks. It cracked me up because back in the day, I was riding out of Norwalk, and there's a truck in front of me, and it says Artistic Ironworks across the back of the truck. And I took my camera out and I took a picture of it as I'm driving, which I'm sure is illegal.
I'm sure it is.
And that was, and that's when it's funny, when I gave it to you and Sharon back in the day, I said, if you ever need any iron stuff and everything, I didn't know there were people still doing this.
yeah, wrought
You know,
iron, yeah,
and there are.
yeah, he did a good
But
job, so.
they did a great job on the railing. The railing was so needed at Slauson, and it's gonna be needed for the 2020 and such.
And Sharon's working on having, if you're familiar with Slauson there off of Hanson, the main entrance, obviously when it was done a gazillion years ago, it wasn't on a busy road, so it's kind of right in the middle,
It
and it's
is.
off of a busy road, and it's kind of dangerous to even go up those steps. But a lot of people, or at least Sharon and I have, you go off to the left and you kind of pull up and you're right by a wall, but it's kind of been a makeshift. But she's gonna have proper kind of stone steps built also, so.
Oh,
Sounds
there were,
awesome.
there were some steps there.
Yeah,
But they were real hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was
They
more
were
like
a
this.
little wobbly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Took a
I
step,
used them, I
came down, you would take a header.
Yeah, and they're like really big, right?
Yeah, I
Yes,
raised that.
they weren't up to code.
Yeah.
I think it might be where the walls
Not
doubled
looking at
down. So anyway, so Slauson's our kind of, focus come spring and everything for next year. But all of these we're still overseeing, and, they've all had the clean outs, and we just, so,
Which is the
This is all
one,
privately funded, right?
town.
Oh, the town?
Well, I
funds it?
take that back.
Yeah.
Sharon privately funded it entirely the first year, and
Okay.
then the town was very nice and did give us a budget. Sharon still far exceeded the original budget that we got from the town, and now we're the 2 years, we've just finished our 2-year of town budget money. And we're very thankful and grateful to the town for that. Although
How much does the town give you?
13,500 this past year, but we've
That
far
goes fast.
exceeded that.
Sure.
Yeah.
That goes very
Yeah,
quickly.
they far exceeded it, and we're asking for more, right, for next year, I hope? Yes, we are.
Because we still have a lot more to do.
Yeah, yeah. It's the town's responsibility, really. I mean, when you get down
And
to
had
it.
they been doing it all along, we
Yeah.
wouldn't
Wouldn't
have
be so.
the job we have now.
They're doing catch-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ken?
Just because you don't have enough to do. Probably just kind of keep in the back of the mind that there are several cemeteries where the stones have been moved into Spring Grove. And one or two of them are pretty significant. I mean, the old Gorham Cemetery is in there, it includes stones from Revolutionary War veterans and whatever. We cleaned that one up a couple of years, well, about 10 years ago. We had an Eagle Scout project, so the parents got to do it. But what they had done for that one was when they moved the cemetery from the end of, they moved the stones from the end of,
Brookside. Brook something.
no,
No, really?
the lane, well, never, no, right off of, I'll be all right. Anyway, they brought them in and they laid them all flat.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so over the years, with the mowing and whatever, they've gotten buried.
Yeah.
And they were like little circles
Sure.
that you could see. So
oh. you think-
we went in there with plastic spatulas and sheetrock saws around the edges and stuff, and we cleared them off. I think they're probably growing back in there now.
Okay.
But it just, you know, they do deserve to be retained.
Okay.
The Selleck graveyard's pretty good. Somebody in 1911 bought a double plot and had all the stones moved into there, so it looks like a kind of a cemetery for little people. But but the stones are pretty decent.
Okay, and those are all part of Spring Grove, those little sections?
Uh-huh.
Okay, because I actually don't, Spring Grove, haven't really gone over there.
Well, that's why I wanted to
yeah.
bring it up.
Okay,
Just to,
Yeah.
because they
Okay.
are contemporary 18th century, early 19th century town cemeteries that got moved.
okay,
There's also a Schofield group there, the group that used to be up by the church, got moved down there. There's probably only half
Up
a
by the
dozen
First
of those.
Congregational Church.
Huh?
Up by the First Congregational
Yeah.
Church? Yeah.
There's only about a half dozen of those, and those are in pretty bad shape,
Okay.
if I remember correctly.
okay.
But it's worth, and there's also some singles.
Are they by the river? That's where they,
Huh?
in the back, by the river, is that where they are? Where?
The Schofield
No,
and.
not them, I mean Gorham. Gorham.
Well,
Spring
yeah,
Grove.
okay, yes. Yeah, they're back towards that last,
Yes, that's what I, yeah.
that last road. There's a big Gorham plot with big Gorham stones, and this is part
That's
of
what I
it.
thought.
They made this as part of it, but,
And I will, when you're ready, direct you to the caretaker for the new property up by the Masonic Lodge, which has been bought by, what's Nick's last name? Nick Fletcher, by Fletcher's group, Nick Fletcher's group. He does have a man, a site manager for them,
Okay.
who's very, very keen on preserving that Bates Cemetery. There are many Bates cemeteries around. There's probably 3 or 4 in town here. There's about 4 or 5 more in Westchester County, and they're all related. But this Thomas Handler, his name is Haendler, and very knowledgeable man. And
Lives in
he has
Stanford.
already had the wall, the retaining wall around that cemetery all rebuilt because they're building a campus. And they want it to look good, okay? And I've already given them the plans. There was an old, at one point, a gate down at one end. I looked it up in my Masonic files and found that and gave them a copy of that. So and there are, by the way, relatives of those who are buried there still in town. Gordon Jelliff is one of them, okay? And he's a great guy. And his mother, he goes there and puts roses on his mother's grave every year.
For
So
Mother's
it's
Day.
really a neat
That is so nice.
thing that they're doing something good for that cemetery. There was a cemetery association years ago. It's gone by. Bob Favallee Jr. came in to the Historical Society at our annual, and he spoke about it, and he's thrilled to see that they're doing something with it. It's, you've got, once you get finished with your list, there's more.
Never ending, okay, thank you.
Anything else on cemeteries? Any questions on cemeteries for Tracy or anything? The question that Jim asked is important because for quite a while there, that was being funded out of the pocket of Sharon Kelsey.
Right, she mentioned.
And God bless her, but it shouldn't happen that way. It's nice to have a nucleus that started off that way. And I think you guys are still working on some sort of funding outside also. And I'll let that go. I know you've got a group of people on your committee that
Did you
work with.
submit the budgets already?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did your cemetery one, though? No, I didn't have the cemetery.
I submitted it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and I checked with Jen before I went to out west in the office, and I said, well, we're square, right? She said, yes.
Okay.
And all those,
Yeah.
there's 3 budgets, one for us, one for
They're all
you. Right, they're all there, yeah. So we did submit. Okay, let's go on to the exact wording and criteria for Veteran Signage Committee application, if you guys have it.
We don't.
Okay.
And I'm not sure that exact wording solves any problem. I think it just changes problems. The issue is how to deal with the rock in the empty can that's making a lot of noise. The concept initially was to honor wartime veterans. The question came up of what does wartime mean? Is it wartime if you're in Alabama when people are fighting in France? Is it wartime if there's no war and you're being shot at in Grenada? So the concept of wartime veterans in and of itself is open to a lot of interpretation. I think the real concept, the initial concept, was wartime in its most direct sense, and it also had an adjunct of community service and involvement in Darien. So if those are the two primary building blocks that we started with, that wartime in its bare bones sense and community service, those are the building platforms. The question is, does it really help us to get into exact wording? Because if you get 99 out of the 100 words that you think you need, but you miss the one, you've done a lot of work for no apparent benefit.
Since
Yeah.
I missed the last meeting,
Right.
what were the issues with the application as it was?
Well, there is one, so one could argue from either side. Is someone who's killed in a training exercise during peacetime in the Army or the Marines, do they qualify? On the other hand, if somebody is working in Alabama cooking baked beans while everybody else is getting shot at, do they qualify? If somebody joins the reserves in 1968 to avoid going to Vietnam, they're a wartime veteran, do they qualify?
Well-
So there are a lot, there's so much gray area, and it's not so much a problem for the committee as it is to the people who potentially could be second guessing the committee. That's the problem.
I understand your points there. I feel like, of course, all the applications will be reviewed, by a committee. And then just like getting into a college or receiving any other honor, there's going to be one or two things that really speak to you and change it, like put it over the edge. So I think that's where there's, I don't want to say wiggle room, I can't think of a better thing for it. So I think just from a teacher perspective, if you say wartime, that gives you the right time frame, anybody during a wartime, and then you look at the individual applications, you look at the honors they did, the facts about their service, maybe, extenuating circumstances. They, all three brothers were on a ship or something and they were all killed, or they saved a village by themselves, something like that. And then, because the selection of the committee is final, and it doesn't mean that those other people can't apply. And hopefully we'll have more of a pool of applicants than signs, which I think is probably what everyone's thinking. But I think that as long as you have the parameters, then there's no question. Were you in the service during these times? Yes or no? And then the committee decides.
Well, again, there's two issues here. Unless we, in my opinion, unless we leave it a little more vague. For example, I think there were only about 7 people, American servicemen, killed in Grenada. And I don't think any of them were from Darien. But someone who served in Grenada and got shot at.
But should we
Does not
wait
does
till
not-
we have that actual problem and let the committee decide, rather than creating all the problems
Yeah.
before we even get started?
Well, that's one issue.
Yeah.
The second issue, which is really, in my opinion, more of a problem, is someone who's going to say, and I'll use the example, someone who joined the National Guard to avoid going to Vietnam, who now says, I'm a wartime veteran.
Okay.
And if this were a private institution, there would be no problem closing the door. But this is a town function, so the door has to necessarily be open.
But they can still apply, they might
Oh,
not
yeah.
get chosen.
All right,
Well, so
but
how do you
I-
handle a panel of judges? Because this is what you're talking
Right.
about, a panel of judges. How do you handle a panel, I don't know the answer to this.
Yeah.
Handle a panel of judges under the framework of a town commission or committee? I don't know. I don't know if this can be
Well,
done.
it's currently, it was approved by this commission that a subcommittee would be the first filter. And the subcommittee would then make a recommendation to this commission as a whole, and then this commission would then vote yay or nay on anybody that the subcommittee put forth for a vote.
And then present it to the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
Right.
I think, I don't want to cut anybody off, but here's the deal. You need some sort of written criterion, okay? You need to have
Right.
this.
Yeah.
You are never, having dealt with this all my life, going to be able to cover all the bases, no matter how hard you try. So there is always going to have to be some wiggle room. But if you want to define it as wartime veteran, so wartime was from this point to this point.
Right.
Whether you are a Vietnam veteran, combat veteran, or a Vietnam veteran who served overseas, or whether you are a Vietnam era veteran, okay, yes, there's a difference, but you're still a wartime veteran.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you served and your time in service in Vietnam was overseas, was in country, okay, that's one thing. If you served, and I'm using Vietnam as an example because it's an easy example to use, all right? We see it all the time on the hats. The hats will say Vietnam veteran, or it'll say Vietnam era veteran. They know, okay, or they should, and they do, all right? To me, I think we don't have to split hairs at this point. I think what you need is get a general criterion for what you want to do. You have two words in your selection. You want a wartime veteran. Define wartime, define veteran, okay, and move on. All right, that's it. All this other stuff is going to, trust me, some people are going to be thrilled, some people are not going to be thrilled. The point you make is very good.
And is community service a part of this also?
Excuse me?
Community service is a part of this also?
Well,
I mean,
Involvement in community.
Involvement in
100%.
community.
So it's totally subjective from the get-go?
Yes,
Right,
yes.
exactly.
So you're covered.
Exactly. And so
Right.
you're going to get people who are thrilled with the process and understand that it's moving along and it's an evolving process, which it is. We're going to
Yes.
fine tune it. And you're going to get people who are going to nitpick and who are going to get bent out of shape. And that happens in every walk of life, and it happens in everything we try to decide. So let's try to do the best possible job we can do in the first place.
Are they
Get yourself a
alive?
foundation.
Alive or dead, does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay, you will find, you may find you get a paucity of people coming forward at first. You may find you get an overabundance at first, all right? And it may lag here and there, but then you keep your list up and you work through your list.
Well,
Okay, and it's not like you're ranking, you've got 5 people, and let's rank these people and
No.
all that stuff. Well, this guy got 92 points, this guy got 92.5. You're not going there, all right? You're trying to come up with the person that you feel, and there's other intangibles too. I mean, you can bring this in. You said the age of the person and such, and, the condition of the person, and all these different things. Subjectively, we're going to take those
Yeah.
into account.
I think we have to trust ourselves.
Yes.
And also, I really appreciate this so much because we are taking on something that, we might have problems here and there with, but
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it's still a really worthwhile program
Absolutely.
and worth our trouble.
Absolutely, and I think you need to get hold of. I mean, and if you're looking for input, which your committee, which is made up already, it consists of a certain number of people, and you can add people to it if you want to. Okay, your committee will, your subcommittee will solicit information from other groups. You may want to solicit. Ken did this in Maine, okay, with the groups up in Maine with the veterans, okay? He knows what can happen, what you can go through if you miss a word here, miss something there. Please, take advantage of Ken's input. You may want to bounce it off the commander of the local VFW and stuff and see what he has to say. You may want to solicit information from other veterans that you know that are both war era or actual veterans, combat veterans and stuff. Get a feel for it. I think you should, get a feel for it. Come up with your definitions that you want to use for wartime and veteran and such, and move on from there, because we don't need to throw stumbling blocks up in front of ourselves here that may never come up. They may happen. You plan for them, but
If you're comfortable with that, then I'd suggest, because Lucy really put together a comprehensive list delineating what the qualifications are. I don't know if it's appropriate to make a motion to vote on them, because I think we already did that 2 months ago.
I don't think we voted actually on the application
No.
per se. I think did you pass it out
Voted on
last?
the idea.
Last
Yes.
time? Right, we voted on the idea.
Okay,
So I could, at the next meeting, bring the finalized application and then,
which can be emailed out to everybody on the board
So you- okay.
prior to that, so that everybody on the
Can
board
think
gets
about
the
it.
opportunity to take a look at it, okay? And, then you can bring your questions or your pros and cons.
Can I
Okay.
just
Yeah,
ask a quick
sure.
question? Did you talk to the police chief?
yes,
Oh, okay,
yeah, and he was all for it.
okay.
Yeah, and the Department of Public Works said they were 100%, and they say, we'll be happy to, install it for you and everything. And the guy at East Coast Sign said he would make a mock-up for us, and he has not sent that to me yet, so I'll
Okay.
contact him again and ask where
Feel
that
free
is.
to, feel free to email any of that information to the committee, to the
Okay.
commission, all right, and to your committee members,
Okay.
so that.
Everyone's in the loop.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we actually have it from the meeting from 2 weeks ago, where it lists, 2 months ago, sorry. But this is the original.
Not the one we worked on in the
Right.
kitchen. All right,
Because
got it.
we did put one more addendum in there.
I have it fixed on my computer.
All right, so we will resubmit it via email to everybody.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it is very specific, and we added one little addendum to incorporate.
And we added your number if
The
you have any
change.
questions. And also, we would make a big deal about saying how much we honor all our veterans, and all applicants are, worthy. Just this time, it's this person.
And we always have to remember, as the bumper sticker said in front of me as I was going across country, you can't be first, but you can be next. Okay, and that happens. All right, you're gonna.
I'm not saying anything about
You're
that.
We're gonna have it. There's gonna be a first. There's gonna be someone who goes, who gets it. Okay, or several, and then there's gonna be next. All right, because the program is going to continue. And as I said before, when you finalize a package for what this costs, what it would cost to honor a person, whatever it happens to be, and there's a numerical amount that's attached to that, and you work up a sheet or something like that, a sponsor sheet, whatever, because I know, for example, a couple of the organizations that I'm involved with may be interested in doing that. All right, so when you're looking for funding and such, there's people that we can contact already, all right?
Okay.
When you're ready, all right, when you've got that done. Is there anything else on that? Because I'm thrilled with it. Everybody I talked to was happy with it. I think it's great. I mean, really, I'm thrilled that it's coming to town.
I'm not sure there's any other town in Connecticut that does it,
So
so.
let's get it happening.
exciting.
Oh, that's a good reason.
Get the stuff out to us and let us take a
Get
look
going.
at it and such and everything else. And then your subcommittee consists of you and Terry and Sharon
Sharon.
at this point, okay?
And
So
Alan volunteered subsequent to
Yeah,
our last meeting,
fine,
so
that's
he
great.
did also.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
And he was in the service, and he knows enough not to volunteer, but he did this. Okay, that's all right, that's okay. 2020,
No, here we go back.
yeah, go ahead.
Can we
sorry.
go back and do the Memorial Day speaker and Grand Marshal, because I have all this done.
What you want
But
to,
we, I
Vote.
mean, to vote.
oh, okay, so so I'll just
Terry
recap
wasn't
that.
here.
Now that we have a quorum here, we do have a quorum. The two people, two names came up, one for the Grand Marshal and one for the speaker. And I'll deal with the Grand Marshal first. The person that Terry brought up, Pat Parlett, we tend to feel, we have a good vibe about, we feel that she would be very good to be the Grand Marshal. She was a U.S. Cadet Nurse Corps member. She was very specialized in her nursing and such. You have to go look at it online because it's really, there was an article written about it when she was honored by the DCA. Back in the day when they used to fly troops on a certain airline, okay, it was required at that point that there always be a nurse on board. Okay, she was one of those. She was also a highly trained individual in the area of certain types of nursing, and she went to, I believe she was in Honolulu and such, working on that also. So she's quite accomplished. So we had a good feeling about her for Grand Marshal, and so we haven't asked her yet. Okay, I have all her information right here. I haven't asked her yet because I haven't seen her lately, but I think she would be a terrific choice. If somebody else has another name or such, that does not mean we can't entertain that one for the next year or whatever. We can do it however you'd like to. But if somebody would like to put forth that we should ask her and formally ask her to do this,
So moved.
Then
That was
Ken
quick.
has moved
I'll
it.
second it.
Second.
We need a second
Okay.
from Terry. We've got a second from Terry. Is there any other further discussion on this at this point? And
She
please-
has one advantage of being a lifelong resident of this town.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
She was a 43 graduate of Darien High School.
Wow.
Recipient of the DCA Scholarship Award, which helped her to go on to nursing to do her work.
And the most positive person I ever met.
Yes, she
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah,
she- and she will be at
She
every,
just, she
patriotic
is
event in
at
this town she
every
can
ceremony.
It says she was a student nurse at Yale where she learned special care for polio victims
this is
living
what she was.
in
polio
an iron
victims.
in
I didn't
iron
want to speak out
lungs.
of turn, but
Yep.
yeah, right.
And then
I knew it
after
was something.
the war, no, after the graduation, she got a job in Hawaii caring for polio patients.
Right. Yeah, she's just a classic person.
And I think,
And classic.
will she be the first woman Grand Marshal? I think so.
Would she be the first one that we had, do you think?
First woman, I
can't
think so.
imagine who else we ever would have had.
I don't know.
We didn't
You have
have,
the list, I don't
we didn't
know.
have Linda Schmidt when she was, no, she was a speaker,
Yeah,
but
But
she
she
was
wasn't
not
the-
the Grand Marshal.
Right.
yeah.
I don't think. Well, anyway, we'll find that
I
out.
have
We'll
a
do
list
some
of almost
research
who
on
they
it.
were.
Anyway, we have a motion on the floor. If there's any other discussion?
No.
All those in favor of asking her?
Huh?
Okay. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, so the motion's carried, so I will take it upon myself to ask her. The other person was a speaker, and Becky Siciliano was burning the midnight oil on this over the vacation, many emails back and forth, and it came to her that Tony Pavia and his son Matt, who have written 2 books, okay, one did prior to this about World War II, but this one was about, the most recent book is called An American Town in the Vietnam War, Stories of Service from Stamford, Connecticut. It covers, for instance, the entire Hunter family, or it's Larry, and all of them, okay, Lenny and all of them, and talks about all these guys from Stamford who were in the Vietnam War. Written by Matt Pavia and Tony Pavia. Tony Pavia, unfortunately, will be unavailable, but Matt said he would be available to be the speaker. And so Karen and I and Becky went back and forth on this and such, and said maybe we should bring his name up here for consideration. I like the fact that he's a young guy who's taken it upon himself to work with his father to do something like this. I think it's fantastic. I think his appeal would be terrific, because he's a known quantity in town. His father's a known quantity in town. The book has gotten some good press. If you read some of the reviews and stuff of it, recently I think there was something done. where
They
there
just
was
did a book talk.
book signing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
didn't
book
they?
signing.
I
I
think
think
Becky
at,
That's why she
Yeah,
was.
Darien Library.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
there was a book signing. I would like to nominate him as our
He's also
speaker.
been our go-to guy at the high school for the essay contest.
Well, there you go. I
There
mean,
you
go.
that's one of those.
Second.
This one of those extra. Second from Raleigh. Is there any discussion at this point? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor of asking Matt?
Aye.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? The motion is carried. Okay.
I think you're lucky to get a
We will.
volunteer.
Excuse me?
Say, I think you're lucky to get a volunteer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not too many people love public speaking. I mean, it's not
No,
easy.
I know.
You know, he's in the hub. He's in the high school.
Yeah, well,
He's
true.
a teacher. You do it.
Good reputation, too.
But I think it's fantastic. I hope it
I was
comes
so
to
pleased that he
fruition.
would
We will
say
let
yes.
we will let Rebecca be the one who will follow up on this.
We could tell her right now.
No, because she will be the one that will
Yes,
because
I-
she's the one
yeah.
that pursued it and kept going at it, went to Tony, then back and forth. I think it's a great idea. So we've got something done here. 2020 committee progress. All right, let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, I will tell you that there are 3 names of men in town who are volunteered to help out on that committee. And the first one is Vin Burke, who's pretty well known in town. Vin has a lot of great capabilities. The other one is Eloy Nava, Eloynava, Eloy Nava, who I know personally, and I know Vin also. And also, the third person was at the Reeds Across America program. I happened to see a Marine there, and so there was Alan Gray, all right, and he was happy when I asked him if he would be interested, all right? And I think he'd be a great resource since
How
he's
is
with the
spelled?
library.
Alan.
G-R-A-L-A-N, I believe, and it's
Yeah.
G-R-A-Y.
Could you email me their particulars and the contact information?
Yeah, I had just sent out an email to, or a text to Eloy to give me which phone numbers he wants to use and stuff and everything else. And Vin Burke would be a great addition to your group also, and I'll try to get some information from him. Vin, if you're listening, send me some stuff. All right, maybe I'll see him at Senior Men during the
You'll see him
association. I
tomorrow.
can't call it Senior Men.
For those who may not
Senior.
know, Alan is the chief cook and bottle washer at the library. And he was not happy, he was boundless joy that
Delighted,
he
huh? Great.
loved this idea.
He loved it. Yes. He'd love to join on, so, I mean, he said, well, if I'm asked, I said, I'm asking you. And he was right in there. Okay, Ken, could you tell us what else you've got from 2020?
Well, we're still pawing the earth, basically.
Okay,
But I did, I got together with Bob
Pascal.
Pascal right before Christmas. And when I contacted him yesterday, he said he had nothing additional to add to this, but he'll get right on it, and I think he will. But we went over a few things, which I think I sent you a copy of that,
Right.
Dave and Karen. We went over the FOIA meeting requirements, and I gave him the copy that you had distributed last, which means, by the way, I don't have my copy. I need another copy. He just needs to know that, basically. The logo contest. Now, I was under the impression that we were supposed to have heard something by now.
Sarah Keena's in charge of that.
Huh?
Yeah.
Sarah Keena is in charge of that.
Okay, I'll talk to Sarah. Because I had heard that, somebody had said that it was like a January 5th.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think there was.
Yeah, I think that was the closeout
I
date.
think- I
And
heard
so we're
that.
still, But Plan B is that Bob has on retainer for the Historical Society, probably some other things, a pretty damn good graphic artist. And what we're looking for here is not recreating Coca-Cola or something of that nature. What we're looking for is a very handsome presentation of Darien, Bicentennial, 1820, 2020. It's essentially
Right.
the core of the information. And to do for banners, street banners and pole banners and car window stickers and, all of that kind of stuff that can really really popping, but really look classy. And I think that's really what we're going to want to do. So I'm comfortable that we can cover that.
Well, but the thing is, we do want to do due diligence with Sarah and see what she.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, see what she has.
Absolutely.
Because
I
there
said
may-
this is
there-
Plan
it may-
B,
it-
Dave.
It may be done already, okay.
This is
I
Plan
don't even-
B.
I
But
don't
it was
even know.
supposed to be
But-
done, you're
Huh?
right. January was the date.
Yeah, it was January 5th or something like that, it had to be
Yeah, which
invited or
was
something like
last
that.
Saturday,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So.
So if we got nothing there, I would like to move into Plan B.
Okay, well, that's going to be up to your group.
Right.
Okay, that's going to be up to your
Right.
committee. I would suggest that your committee come up with some meeting dates and, get those filed with Jean downstairs or whoever, because you're going to need room.
Well, that's what I've got to push Bob on that.
Yeah, you need some meeting dates so that you can tell these people that are
Yep.
interested when they're going to meet, and they can get it on their calendar. And you need, you're going to be meeting here someplace in the town hall because it is a
Right.
town committee,
Right.
town subcommittee.
Need a whole year
And,
of
okay,
dates
what else
is
we
what
got?
I
Right.
send ahead of time,
Right.
Wow.
but I don't know.
So I would suggest, do that and get in touch with these three guys, and they may know other people, okay? But I would, the nice part about it is there, two of them anyway, I don't know if Alan is, but two of them are residents of Darien, which also helps with your 5 out of your 9-member minion that you have to have for.
Apparently, that is not the issue so much anymore now that
Okay.
it is a subcommittee of this.
Okay.
Oh,
Now, oh yeah, you're right, because of the fact that we have put 3 people from our commission
Right.
on it. Okay.
Right, and it's, that,
Yeah, I think Jamie did clarify that
yeah,
last meeting.
town committees, town commissions. This
But I
is
would,
really
I would,
town
I would
committees.
reach out to these guys because each of them will bring something to the table that you
Fine.
guys will enjoy.
No, that's fine, and I've got a lot of fire under Bob.
Okay, I will endeavor to get hold of the contact information from all
Okay.
of them in the next 2 days. Yes.
I don't know if you're aware, don't mean to point, but when we were doing this exploratory, as I would call it, the 2020
Yeah.
group, I had created the info.darien2020.gmail account that had been put out in the newspaper, and I'm still monitoring it. So I have the code for that and everything whenever anybody wants to take it over.
Right.
But any information that I receive on there, I had forwarded to Jamie, but I really only got 2 inquiries. And I don't know if they got passed on to you at any point in time. On December 10th, Mallory Arentz, who's the...
She's parents, she's at the library.
Yeah, she had emailed and said, let me know what I can do. So I have her contact information if you want it.
That's great.
Send it
Yeah.
along, please.
Okay, and then early on, somebody from the Rotary Club had, was inquiring about
Right.
what was going on. And since their input is into, all the businesses, it would be worthwhile, I think, at some point to contact them. And then, I don't know if she followed up and stayed on the committee, which was the lady from the...
Bonnie Freight-Dora.
No,
Didn't
Oh,
she
from the
volunteer?
Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know either.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I know all these people.
the lady from the
Yes.
Chamber of Commerce, I apologize, I don't remember her name right now.
Susan Cater.
Yeah,
She's
she had
married
come
to
to a
Andrew
couple of
Dora.
meetings. She
Right.
wasn't sure how involved
That's
she
right.
could be, but again, she was willing,
Yeah.
she's the conduit. So those were 3 major people
Right,
also.
so you've got like 6 people to bring into the fold.
Yeah, and I'm
okay, as
actually
far as I'm
interested in
The
working
email
on
was
that.
published
Okay.
in what context? Just if you have
It had gone into the...
inquiries about being involved, or?
Yeah, it had been published in the Darien News and online, I think the Darien,
Okay.
it wasn't one that you had done, though, it was one that
I didn't-
Jamie had released.
Yeah.
I got a
And
contact from Sarah Fox, is that her name, for the...
Sandra.
Sandy Fox. Sandra
Sandra
Fox.
Fox.
Sandra Fox.
Sandra Fox.
She's
So
the assistant editor.
The email
She's the
was,
assistant editor.
it went out in
Who's
the
looking for
newspaper,
anything
but
you wanna throw
several
her.
months ago
I
at this
know.
point. And it was
called us too.
info.darien2020@gmail.com. So it's still active, it's just, the
I
only...
would get that information to Bob and to Ken.
Yeah.
And to the other members, Jim and Rob also,
I had passed it on to Bob and Jamie, so I'll pass it on to you now. I'll send you what I had
Yes.
written up for them.
Yeah,
Okay.
these 3, because Ken and Jim Long and Rob Hewlett are all
Okay.
officially on that subcommittee,
I'll pass
you
it on
can
to them.
email it to them too, and you have their email.
And now,
Do I have their
we have another member.
Yeah.
Oh,
Lucy.
good.
And Lucy's in it. So
Jamie asked me the night I
That's
presented.
fantastic. And anybody else from the schools, I mean,
Yeah,
that might be like Matt or anybody else. I mean, this is the kind of thing that we're gonna need help from at all different places.
Do you have any idea does Bob have any other volunteers or organization?
Yeah. I don't think he's got anybody's foot nailed on the floor, but he has had some people around, several of them from the Historical Society, a couple of others. Now, there's also people in town, including
Another mini or something like that?
Jamie, the number 2 at Parks and Rec,
Right.
who was on it, and there's a couple of other types like that. So, yeah, frankly, he hasn't done a damn thing. Is really
That's what I thought.
But I've worked with him enough that I know.
Well, he ought to be delighted to have all this additional people
He
around
comes
him.
through, yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta get him in the fold. That's all.
Because, I mean, he's the line head of this thing. I mean, he's.
Right.
So,
But you'll see Vin, if you go to the meeting tomorrow, to the DMA meeting, I don't know if you're going or not.
Yes.
Okay, if you see Vin Burke, Eloy might be there also, all right? And I already texted, I did not text Vin, but try to get from Vin what email he wants to use and what telephone number he wants to use, so that we have a contact point for him, all right?
Yep.
'Cause he's fantastic.
Who's this, Burke?
I don't know him, but I'll look him up.
He'll be there, holding court. But can I ask one more? Is there something else? Good.
No, I want to ask
No,
you.
is that them to contact Van Burke?
Vin Burke, yeah.
Yeah.
He should
okay.
be in the book.
I'll point you out.
Okay.
okay. Tracy, you probably ought to be on the committee too. I mean, just in terms of a liaison or some such thing. No?
No, thank you.
Okay.
She's got gloves on, she's
Oh,
lifting
please.
logs.
She's doing a lot of
I'm
work.
getting Slauson in shape for it.
Well, only because my understanding is that you want, that the cemetery committee will participate in some fashion in 2020.
In
And
that
so will the
aspect,
other-
I think she's going to be.
So
she'll be-
you will be our liaison with that, correct?
Correct. And
Okay.
DAR also.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, that's what we need is a list of liaisons
Yes.
also. All right, okay.
That's why
The-
I was thinking of Bob. We ought to get a full list of
Everybody
everybody.
The new
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe we
I think
could
it-
get the
Yeah.
list of all the groups that marched in the Memorial Day Parade and the points of contact, just as a place to start for reaching out to.
Yeah, I mentioned to Jamie
Town
last time I
groups.
spoke to her, about 3 weeks ago before I took off, that there is a list, and she mentioned back to me that is town property, okay, that is held by someone who did work on the parade before, and that has to be released to the town, so that listing of all those
We did
organizations
not
and
have
stuff.
access to that last year.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
That makes no sense.
I know.
Well,
After the
that's
meeting, I'll
another
tell you
whole
who has
issue.
it.
I left it in Jamie's hands to get that in, because that should be
It'll
coming
all
out of
come out.
Linda O'Leary's desk and Karen Dunn's desk, okay? It should be 2 keystrokes
Never
away,
heard about it.
but you're right,
Easy.
okay? That's
Mm.
exactly right, because that's a whole other source of groups of people. The Patriots Day discussion, I'm going to defer to the next meeting. I will mention that in this packet, you have what the Patriots Day discussion is all of, the Patriots Day material is. This is some young lady from upstate, from Wilkett, that wants to get everybody together in sometime around 2020, and have a race, actually, where all the towns and people from all the towns in the state are involved and so on. You can read that's in here. I would like to, we'll discuss it at the next meeting. We were going to discuss it tonight. I'm not going to keep us forever here. I don't know how this could be worked into 2020. I think it's a separate issue. It's Patriots Day because Connecticut became one of 4 states that now celebrates Patriots Day, all right? When I was going to school in
Unpaid
Boston, I
holiday.
thought we were the only ones that celebrated it up there, but that's out,
The other end,
Yeah.
other end of Connecticut is a heck of a lot more involved in this than this end of Connecticut.
You're right.
Because no one from
Close
here
to
went anywhere near
Massachusetts.
Lexington or Concord.
We-
And heard about it several days later.
We had tended to defer a little bit when I was talking to Jamie. We
Massachusetts,
tended to
southern
not want to get involved with this right now, since we have our own 2020 celebration that we're going to be doing. And we may have to put it off a year, but that's what we need. We just need a consensus on that at the next meeting of where we want to head with this, that's all. Is there anything else to come before the commission at this moment?
I would just like to say one thing on the display case. I measured the board that is in the place where we would like the display case that the fire marshal said is no good.
Yeah.
And the footprint for the board that is there right now is identical to the footprint of the cabinet. And if one takes the point of view of emergency egress, one is less likely to run into a cabinet than trip over the foot of a stand. So I just
This is
think,
an issue that will come up time and time again. It will not die.
I think for next, in between now and the next meeting, I think we should approach the fire marshal
Well,
with that information.
Maybe we should all go
Becky
test.
already did.
Becky has already been to several meetings with people in town hall.
I did mention it to Becky,
Yeah.
so yes.
She was there the next day, and then she was there the next day and the next day, so she's already had
She's
several meetings about this.
and has gotten
It
nowhere.
seems to be an immovable object that's not gonna float its way across the hall.
Why
But
don't-
we'll see what happens.
Why don't we
Anyway.
take some film of
Why don't we
this
just
exact
go down-
happening?
Why don't we just go down and move it?
I'm with you, Karen.
I will entertain a motion to Carabillo.
All right.
So moved. And seconded by Terry, and all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next meeting is on when? What day?
February
Second
sometime.
Tuesday of
February.
February,
February 2nd.
whenever that
Tuesday.
is.
I don't know, but it's the same as
Valentine's
March,
Day.
because February and March are always the same day.
They
You
are.
know that? I
That
know
is so
because
interesting.
always-
So
So the
12.
next meeting is
Feb. 12th,
Except for next
the
year.
12th,
12th.
okay? 12th of February.
Okay, 12th of
Can I
February.
bring Valentine's cookies?
Then I
Can I bring
wrote a
Valentine's
tune
cookies?
called
Sure.
Yes.
Spain.
Bring $5
Well,
bills,
you
it's
can
Lincoln's
bring-
birthday.
Oh,
so
there
bring
you
a lot of
go.
$5
It's
bills.
Lincoln's birthday.
Not the pennies, thank you.
Not to date myself too much, didn't we get those off?
Were you there?
The 12th and
Yes,
the 22nd?
yes, but now it's
Absolutely.
President's Day, it's
I know,
mixed together.
But we used to get 2
So that
days
we can
off, we
shop,
only get
shop,
1,
shop.
that's
Yeah.
cheap.
They're both off.
Okay, so it's the 12th, right?
12th.
It's also the 12th of March, right?
Feel
I
better.
think so.
Thank you, I'll be.
All right, thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
The 12th is when-
Happy New Year to